Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the series of the manual testing full course. This is the part 2 and today we are going to discuss about few more topics. You can refer the full playlist name as the manual testing. You can check this on my channel. So let's start. So in today's session, we are going to discuss about what is SDLC, that is the software development life cycle, the waterfall model, advantages and disadvantages of the waterfall model. Then we are going to discuss about a software testing life cycle, SDLC, and the V model. Okay, so let's start with the software development life cycle. So you can see the diagram here, like what is the software development life cycle. You can see the different phases here. So software development life cycle, it is a structured approach which is used for a software developer to design, create, deploy, and maintain the software system. The SDLC is a process which helps to ensure that software projects are planned, executed, and completed efficiently while meeting the desired quality and the functionality of the requirement. There are various models and methodologies that are fall under the SDLC, but the basic this cycle, you can see the diagram here, which we are going to discuss. So these are the different phases which comes under the SDLC. So the first one is the requirement analysis. So the first phase includes uh, understanding and documenting the project requirement. This step involves a close collaboration with a stakeholder to identify their needs and expectation from the software. In this phase, the gathered requirements are analyzed and a plan for the development process is created. It involves defining the scope, project schedule, resource allocation, and a potential risk. So basically, in this phase, we are gathering the requirement from the stakeholders like a client or any customers you are having. So we are gathering the requirement from them. We are doing analysis of that, the feasibility of the requirement. If you have any question, then you can ask the question to the stakeholders and clear the requirement. So basically, we are doing the planning session, the analysis session here uh, for the requirements. The next phase is the design phase. So the design phase focuses on creating a detailed blueprint of the software architecture. It includes the designing the system structure, data model, user interfaces, and other technical specification. After the designing, the developer will implement this. So this is the actual coding phase and the development of the software take place in this phase. Developer writes the code base on the design specification and the best practices. After that, once the coding is done, it is a time for the testing. So tester will perform the testing for the developed application. So here in the phase, uh, it is perform and identify the fix bugs and error. So different type of testing like unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and user acceptance testing are carried out in this phase. So whatever the bugs that tester found during this phase are fixed, and then only it is time for the deployment. So after successful testing, the software is deployed on the production and the environment, and it is made available to the users. So that is the final deployment on the production environment. So once it is deployed, then next come is the evaluation or the maintenance phase. The software enters the maintenance phase after the deployment. It involves monitoring, bug fixing, and making necessary updates to improve the software performance and the functionality. Throughout the STLC process, communication and collaboration between the developer, stakeholder, and end user are essential to ensure that the software meets the intended requirement and aligns with the desired capabilities. So there are some popular SDLC model which we are going to discuss in this session, which are waterfall model, V model. So there is an agile model as well that we will discuss in the later session. So they have their own advantages and disadvantages that also we are going to discuss. The choice of SDLC model, it depends on the project requirement, timeline, team capabilities, and the level of the flexibility needed during the development phases. So basically, these are the phases during the SDLC. So first is the requirement gathering, then analysis of the requirement, then the designing phase. After the designing of the blueprint or creating the blueprint, there is the implementation of the code. After the final implementation and coding, there is a testing phase. After testing, we need to deploy that software on the production environment, and once it is deployed, the maintenance phase will start. So that's the overall the SDLC. Next, the diagram you are seeing for the SDLC that I took from the Google, but basically we need a slight change in this diagram. So after the testing, there should be a deployment phase. So the phases should be like a requirement analysis first, then designing, then implementation, testing, then deployment, and then maintenance phase. So that will be the sequence for the SDLC. So you can keep this in mind. Okay, so let's move to the next slide, that is about the waterfall model. So this is the classic way of developing the software, which is the sequential development. What exactly the sequential mean? The step by step. So basically, once the first step is completed, then only you can move to the next step. So once the requirement analysis is completed, then only you can move to the system design. So basically the waterfall model is a linear and sequential software development methodology that was one of the earliest approach to managing and organizing the software development project. This is a very old approach. The waterfall model follows a top-down approach where the development process is divided into a distinct phases, and each phase must be completed before moving to the next one. So let's go to these phases one by one. So the first one is requirement analysis. In this phase, all the software requirements are gathered from the client or the end users. These requirements are analyzed and documented in the software requirement specification document. So mostly business analysts do this job for the requirement analysis, and they will create the SRS document after this. After that, the next phase is the system design. So the software design phase involves transforming the document, transforming the requirements specified in the SRS document into a detailed technical design. It defines the architecture, data structure, algorithm, and other technical specification necessary for the software development. The next phase is the implementation, where the actual coding or programming of the software takes place. So here developer do the coding part. Okay. Then next is the testing. Once the software is completed, the development is done, then the testing phase will start. So what exactly the job of the tester? Just make sure that the software is meeting the specified requirement and works as expected. So these phases include various types of testing like unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and user acceptance testing. Whatever bugs that is reported by tester will get fixed and retested during this phase. Once this is done, the next one is the deployment phase. Once the software is completely tested, the software is deployed or released to the end user. So in this phase, it is deployed on the production environment. So once it is deployed, the next phase that comes into the picture, that is the maintenance phase, where update, bug fixes and enhancement are made based on the user feedback and the changing requirement. So this is the sequential approach. So once the requirement analysis done, it will move to the system design, then implementation, then testing, deployment, maintenance. If there is any bug found during the maintenance phase, then we need to again follow the same process, like again the requirement analysis, system design and all these phases. And the testers are not involved from the starting of the phase. So let's discuss what exactly the advantages and the disadvantages of the waterfall model. So let's move to the next slide. Advantages of the waterfall model included its straightforward and easy approach, as well as its suitability for the smaller project with a well-defined and a stable requirement. But waterfall model have a several disadvantages as well. So it is very simple and easy to understand. It is very sequential approach. Anyone can understand how exactly it works. So it is best for the small project which doesn't have like a changing specification. In that case, you can use waterfall model approach. When your team is small, so it is very easy to use a waterfall model to manage the project. So suppose you are working on any freelancing project and the application is already developed. In that case, you can use this waterfall model approach for the testing and for the maintenance and all those purpose. But consider that your project is a big, the requirement is a changing frequently. In that case, waterfall model will not work. So let's see what exactly the disadvantages of the waterfall model. The first one is lack of flexibility. So it is very difficult to accommodate changes in the requirement once phase is completed, as going back to the previous phase may require a significant time and resources. So basically, in the waterfall model, you will get the net feedback. So at the testing phase or at the maintenance phase, maybe you get to know there is an issue in some model. Suppose there is an issue maybe in some of the functionality that you will get to know from the customer side during the maintenance phase, and you need to fix that. So the cost required for the fixing that bug will be high compared to if that bug will be found during the requirement phase only, like suppose the requirement is wrong or something like that. So it will be better to fix the bug using the early testing only. So that will be the risk in the waterfall model. Limited customer involvement. Customer feedback and involvement are typically minimal until the software is fully developed, potentially leading to misunderstanding, and the result may be not as expected by the customer. Risk of a late defect detection that we already discussed. Like defects may not be discovered until the testing phase, making it more challenging and expensive to fix the issues. Due to these limitations, many modern software development approaches such as agile and iterative methodologies have become more popular as they offer more flexibility and adaptability to changing requirements and the customer's needs. So we are going to discuss about the agile methodology in the next session maybe, but the waterfall model is a very old approach and it is useful for the if you are having like a small project or very short duration project where you want to uh, give the product to the client as early as possible. So in that case you can you can use the waterfall model instead of any other approaches. So let's discuss about SDLC, that means Software Testing Lifecycle. It is a systematic and well-defined process for testing the software application to ensure their quality, reliability, and functionality. The primary goal of STLC is to identify defects and the issues in the software before they release to the end users, thereby ensuring the high quality of the product. The software testing life cycles including these different phases. So we will go through these phases one by one. So the first one is the requirement analysis. So in this phase, the testing team will review and analyze the software requirement to understand the project scope, features, and the functionality. If there is any doubts in the requirement, then they will ask to the stakeholders, the customers or the client, and they will clarify the requirement in this phase. So once this is done, the next thing is to create the test plan and test strategies based on the requirement. So test planning, it involves defining the testing scope, objective, resources, and schedules. So tester also identify the test environment and tools required for the testing process. So during the test planning, so what exactly in the scope, what is out of the scope, what exactly the objective of the testing, what kind of testing we are going to perform during the test plan, which environment we are going to use, what kind of tools we are going to use, who will be involved in this testing, what is the entry and exit criteria. There are a lot of things that will cover during the test plan. So we need to finalize these things during the test planning. So we will cover this test plan separately in the one session, like what exactly included in the test plan and how to create the test plan. So in short, the test planning involves this lot of things that is need to be done before we start the actual execution. So we will define the scope, objective, what exactly the objective and the schedules for this one. So we will define that in the test planning. The next thing is a test design. So where the tester created a detailed test cases on the basis of the software requirement. So test cases outline the test scenarios, the input, what exactly the expected outcome, then what exactly the steps to execute the test cases. So basically we designed the test cases during this phase. So that is the test design. After that, the next phase is test environment setup. So testing team will not perform the testing directly on the production phase. So there will be the another environment that is created for the testing purpose. So that environment should be the same as the production environment so that we can analyze the result and we can perform the test cases and we get to know about the defects that would occur on the production environment. So the testing team prepares the test environments during this phase, including hardware, software, and other necessary configuration to replicate the production environment. Maybe there is a part of the like creating a test data for that before you start the execution that also comes into the environment setup part. The next phase is the test execution. So in this phase, the actual testing is a performed. So tester execute the test cases and record the test results, including any defects found during the testing process. So during the testing phase, tester will find out some defects. So if any defects or issues are identified during the test execution, they are documented in a defect tracking system. So we have different defect tracking tools such as Jira, HPLM. So basically we use that for the defect tracking purpose. So testers provide necessary detail such as what exactly the steps to reproduce, uh, the severity, priority, maybe the evidences like a screenshot or a video of how to exactly reproduce that defect. So everything will be provided during the defect reporting. So once the defect is a fix, we need to perform the retesting and the regression testing. So once the defects are fixed, the testing team retests the software to ensure that the issue have been resolved. Additionally, regression testing is conducted to verify that the changes made to fix the defect have not introduced any new problem. So whatever the functionality that was working fine before the issue get fixed and deploy on the testing environment, the functionality should work as the same after the issue fix as well. So that's the regression testing. We are checking overall the related functionality after the retesting. So once everything is done, so that will be the test closure. So for the defect, actually there is a defect life cycle as well. So we will going to discuss that in the next session. So for the test closure as well, there is a definition of done that we also discuss in the part of the test planning. What exactly? So once the test cases are executed and there is a no defect or no high priority defect, or we achieve the definition of done, then only we can move to the test closure. So what exactly the test closure involves? So it involves the summarizing the testing activities, gathering test matrix, and gathering test summary report. So STLC is an integral part of the software development process. The primary objective of the SDLC is to ensure that the software meets the specified requirement, is free from defects. Effective software testing helps in delivering a high quality product and which enhances the customer satisfaction. So this is the overall software testing life cycle. Next, we will move to the V model. About the V model. The V model, also known as the verification and validation model, is a software development and testing framework that illustrates the relation between development and testing phases. If you see the diagram, the left side is the verification phase. You can see this is all the STLC phases. The requirement analysis, system design, high level design and low level design. And the right side, this is the STLC validation phases. Unit testing, integration testing, system testing and the acceptance testing. And the entire figure looks like a V. Hence, this model named as the V model. So it is an extension of the traditional waterfall model which emphasizes a systematic approach to a software development. The V model is a call so because it is a V-shaped representation which is a progressive of development and testing activities in a step-by-step manner where each stage in the development process corresponds to the complementary testing phase. So let's discuss the phases one by one. The first one is the requirement gathering. So this is the initial phase where the software requirements are gathered and documented. Then the system design. In this phase, the high-level design and architecture of the software system are created based on the requirement. Then after that, there is a high-level design. Is further broken into a smaller subsystem or model and detailed design are created. Then there is a low-level design. So basically, low-level design defines the architecture or design of the individual components. Coding. So code development is done during this phase. The actual coding or the implementation of the software model takes place in this stage. So unit testing that will correspondence with the low level design. So different components that will be tested during the unit testing. Individual unit or component of the software are tested to ensure that it is working as expected. Integration testing with correspondence to the high level design. So the tested units are integrated into a larger subsystem. So this is a high level design or a subsystem design. So this larger subsystem and their interaction between this subsystem are tested during this integration testing phase. Then there is a system testing that corresponds with the system design. So the integrated system is tested as a whole to verify that it meets the specified requirement. User acceptance testing with correspondence with the requirement analysis. So this is the final testing phase where the software is tested in the user environment to ensure that it satisfies the user need. The V model provides a clear and organized approach to the software development and testing, ensuring that each phase output is tested before moving on to the next stage. However, there are some limitations with the V model as well. So let's see what exactly the advantages and the disadvantages of the V model. So it is a very simple and understandable model. The V model approach is good for the smaller project where the requirement is defined and it phrases in the early stage. It is a systematic and disciplined model which results in a high quality product. So let's see what exactly the disadvantages. V model is not good for the ongoing project. The next disadvantages is that if the requirement is a change in the later phase, so that will be the too costly. So these are the some advantages and disadvantages of the V model. So that's it for the today guys. So in today's session we already discussed about the V model, waterfall model, what exactly the STLC, the drawback and the advantages of the waterfall V model. So in the next session, we will discuss about the agile model as well. As well, we discuss about the STLC. We will discuss these phases in a detailed manner. So what exactly the test plan, what exactly included in the test plan, what exactly the test cases design, how to do that, the test execution, how to report a defect, what exactly the defect life cycle, what exactly the artifacts included in the test closure. Everything we will cover in this manual testing series. So make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you can refer this playlist for any topics from the very basic level like what exactly the software testing, the testing type, test level that we already cover in the first part. So this is the second part and there are more advanced topics coming in the later part as well. Apart from the manual testing, we are also going to cover the automation testing, Selenium, Java, everything from the basic. So make sure that you subscribe to YouTube channel. If you have any queries, you can comment down below. Thank you so much.